All right, we're gonna start with Marlene.
I was the closest in the aisle here, so I got here first. You know, Janet's on her way.
There you go.
Man, Rabbi, you are kicking our butts, and we need our butts kicked. I wrote a bunch of notes. Okay, I'll read what I wrote.
Okay.
We're supposed to do our utmost. This reminds me of Deadpool. Okay, so I didn't watch Deadpool for a long time because I didn't like his vulgarity. But what I did appreciate about Deadpool was that he always talked about putting forth maximum effort.
Yep.
And that really made my mind turn around.
Wait, first of all, let me say goodbye to all that just left. Because as a ministry, we didn't immediately faint when she said she saw the movie Deadpool. So.
Actually.
Stop judging.
What had happened was.
What had happened was.
I did not watch Deadpool. I was boycotting Deadpool. And then I found out that you went to go see I found out you went to go see Deadpool. I was like, oh, okay, well, let me check it out. So anyway, I'm really...
Look, I told you I'm a real person. I watch everything, okay? By the way, we lost people in our ministry that were actually in leadership many years ago because they had this issue with things like movies and books and this and that, and they were afraid of everything, so I'm not here. And actually, back then I told my wife, I said, it's not fair that I can't just be me. And at that moment, I decided I'm just gonna be me always, that's it, okay? So if you ask me if I saw something, a movie that you would never go to, I might say yes. Maybe I listen to music you would never listen to, all right? That's my issue, my problem, not yours, okay? All right, and people actually are near my office, sometimes I play it loud and they'll hear it anyway, so.
So I just want to say that that's one thing that I got out of that movie, and I really appreciated thinking. It makes me think about it very often now when I'm doing something half-heartedly, and then I think about Deadpool, and I think, am I put forth maximum effort? You know?
Okay, wait. Let me give you more to that. All right. He only said that in basically ridiculous odds, and it was only going to be with maximum effort. Was there any chance he would make it? Right? He didn't just say that anytime. It was basically me against 300 guys. I'm probably not going to make it, so maximum effort. So it's like life and death, right? You have to put in that utmost. So I want to give you the framework of that because he didn't just always to say maximum effort. He said, okay, I'm going to go in there. This is not going to be good. This is probably going to go bad for everybody, but I got to go in there with maximum effort.
And he was really lazy. Yeah, he's pretty lazy. He wasn't a good superhero, you know. And I think...
I don't think superhero and Deadpool need to be in the same sentence, but okay.
But I really think that it reminds me of ourselves. He was real of who he was. You know, he was whatever, off color, whatever he was. But he was real.
That's it.
And I appreciated that because a lot of times we want to pretend like we look like you were talking about. Mm-hmm. People look good. They have their suit. They saying the right thing. They're doing whatever. But really inside, we're like it reminds me of what Yeshua said about the people being like whitewashed sepulchers full of dead man's bones.
Right.
And so, let's see what I want to say. Okay, so we don't want to put forth maximum effort. We have entitled attitudes, like what you talked about.
Hold on. I wanted to say something because you did mention about how we perform sometimes. Billy Joel had the song "The Stranger," basically the masks that we wear and show people. I also want all of you to know that if you're married especially, don't fall into this trap. Don't compare your spouse to somebody else, because what you see in public, that little bit that you don't really know. They may be everything they look like in public, but they may not be. You don't know. So a lot of people are very good in public. I'm not. I'm going to be me. What I mean by good in public, meaning as I'm not going to hide stuff. If I'm upset, you'll see it in public, okay? My wife doesn't like that, and I appreciate that she doesn't, but it's hard for me to do that. But that's also part of the proof that I really don't ever put on a show, okay? I'm just gonna be me, whatever the situation is. And some of you have seen me get upset with some people at times when something was going wrong or somebody did something, and I'm just me, I'm wearing it on my sleeve. So, but be careful, because you will do this. Don't ever compare your spouse to anybody, because you compare your husband to somebody's husband or your wife to somebody's wife because of what little you know, because of what you see in public. You just don't know. Because you're comparing some bad part about your spouse that you don't like to what looks like, appears to be some better aspect of that person. By the way, it may actually be better, but there may be other stuff you don't know that's much worse. So just because you're comparing their best to your husband or your or wife's worst doesn't mean that there isn't other stuff that your husband or wife does really better and they do terrible or whatever. Don't compare, okay? And don't tolerate it. Make a rule in your marriage. You are not to compare me to anybody. Both. Right? Each one, you make a commitment. We are not going to compare ourselves to anybody else's spouses. Okay? Well, you know, other men do this or other women do that. No. Don't ever go to that place. Okay? It's because it's not fair, because you don't know. Okay? First, it would be wrong anyway, even if you did know. But there's very few people that you're with them enough to actually know what their marriage really is like. Okay? Very few people. Because you actually have to stay and live with them and be with them and have them let down their guard and be themselves. And most people are pretty good knowing people are around to behave, okay? Some people do a great job, for example, where, you know, all of a sudden parents are like getting a divorce and the kids are like, but my parents never fought because they didn't do it in front of you, which is a good thing. I mean, you shouldn't do it in front of them. But the thing is then, they're like, I don't understand why you're getting a divorce. Well, mom and dad fight all the time, but I never saw it because they were good at hiding it. Let's not compare, okay? Because people are good performers, and not like they're doing it like consciously. They just want to make sure they're not embarrassed in public, and this is a big deal, and so they just automatically put on a mask, okay? This is the mask I wear at services. This is the mask I wear on the job, okay? I find it a lot easier just to be me no matter what I'm doing. It doesn't always suit every situation perfectly, but it's a lot easier for me not to have to think about it, okay? And so, now that doesn't always work well, because I should be more appropriate for me to do certain things in certain situations, but it's just easier just to be yourself, okay? All right, Marlene's seen me be me many times, so she knows, okay?
And I really appreciate that, because I think that we have gotten away with too much. You know, I was gonna say, I feel like when I was in Christianity, I felt it has enabled people and has allowed us to manipulate the system. And it reminds me of what you were talking about, when people come to you and they have this expectation that just because they want help, they should get help. You know, they show like whatever bank statement, but they don't show the whole thing, you know.
Well, wait. But also understand, when I don't give them what they want, that doesn't mean I'm not helping them. They're getting actually the help they need, not what they want. Okay? If you're paying the stupid tax because you've handled your money badly, and that's a Dave Ramsey thing, so I didn't make that up, all right? But if you've handled your money badly, it may cost you your 401k or your IRA or whatever, like it did us. It cost us ours to try to fix your problem. But why should I fix your problem when you have that? I mean, should I really be fixing your problem when you have that money available? No, but it's gonna upset you. Yes, it upset us too, okay? As a matter of fact, it was some of my bad choices that caused us to have the problem, and it cost my wife her retirement money that we used at that time, and she was not thrilled about that, but she was supportive, and she did it anyway, okay? And we've worked and fixed it and made up for that since then, and then some, which is what anybody could do. When you pay the stupid taxes, you fix things, and everything gets better, way better than it would have been before. Because we are helping you, but not the way you just think that you want it done. Okay, so I just don't want you to think that when we say no to something that we're not helping you. You know, if you're struggling, we'll give you guidance, but then you have to do the guidance. That is helping you. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, we're not getting away with anything. We think we're getting away with something. We've been able to manipulate people in the past, and we've been able to pretend like we don't know or something like that. But Torah brings out all the time that you need to do the right thing no matter if anybody's watching or not.
Yes.
Like when it talks about the ox or whatever, when you see your neighbor's ox, don't pretend like you don't see the ox. Even your enemy, You know, when you see your enemy's ox, bring your enemy's ox back to him. Don't hide your eyes. It says that.
Right.
You know, so I really appreciate you, although I don't like it very often when I get called out about something, you know. And you don't pull any punches. You're no respecter of persons. And sometimes I have an attitude about that. I feel like I should get special treatment because, you know, I work so hard and I go above and beyond. But if I don't, I'm a useless, evil servant.
Right.
If I'm just doing what's expected of me, I'm a useless, evil servant. That's what he says.
Yeah.
So I need to know, I need to remember, and when you give me a hard time about things, I need to remember that you're no respecter of persons, and you are trying to, even though people don't like it, you know, you are trying to show us what Yahweh is trying to show us. That he sees, even though we pretend, we fool ourselves, and we're the only ones that we're fooling because other people can see the hypocrisy.
Now, in all those things, was I ever unfair?
No, never. And you were nice, and you didn't yell.
No, I don't.
Even though I felt offended, you were very nice. You were very low voice. I mean, you maybe raised your voice at me a couple of times, but you know, I deserved it. You know.
Well, just to emphasize a point, it wasn't like I screamed at or anything.
Yeah.
But look, what you guys also have to understand is, all right, is that we've become, and generationally it's getting worse, I think it just came to my head. I think we're consequence aversion is what we have. We have this huge consequence aversion. We don't want to have any, we should be able to do whatever we want to have no consequences, all right? And yet, so you spend your money foolishly, you don't make enough, and then you end up broke, and people are garnishing your wages, and you can't pay your bills, and that's the consequence of the things you did. It didn't happen, nobody did anything to you, okay? Marriage problems, other type of social problems, a lot of them are consequences of things you've done. But see, Christianity says there are no consequences. See, Jesus did everything to take away all those consequences, and if there's any more in the future, it's all the devil's fault, so you're just good. You don't have to worry about it. Do whatever you want because there's no consequences, all right? And then we do things like, you know, sports, and everybody gets a trophy. One of the greatest motivators that I learned in my life is I realized I hate losing. But if everybody wins, whoever learns to hate losing, what's there to strive to win, to be successful, to accomplish something? A prize for losing. This is what we do because, but the children will feel sad that they lost. No, you're ruining them. Ruining them. You want to know what motivated a kid more than anything else? Anybody remember the mercy rule? Team is beating you by like 11-0 or something. It would be like a mercy rule to just end the game. There was nothing more humbling and motivating than losing because the team was just destroying you and they just said, okay, we're just going to call it. Like, it's like the guy being pummeled in the ring and the referee's got to call it and say, you know, it's over. What a motivator, though. Okay? Consequences are important. Okay? Now, there were things that occasionally, this is why I don't hire a lot of people. It used to be years ago, people would say to me, you always mention you need help with something, and I keep volunteering, but you won't use me. I'm like, because one day, if I used you, listen, everybody, pay attention. Anybody that I would hire or have volunteer on a regular basis, you're going to screw it up at some point. Okay? Everybody does. You'll do something that I didn't want the way you did it. And then I'm going to come to you and correct you, and you won't handle it. And there are people I know who absolutely won't handle it. That's why I will not let them volunteer to work for me. They can volunteer and do other things for other people as long as, but if they're, because I've had people, this is what, when she'll tell you, I've had some problems, I had to go, Marlene, that's not what I wanted, okay? Or who told you to do this? Nobody ever authorized it, whatever it was. And that's a chastisement, but she handles it well. And she understands it was just a correction, but you have to understand, you can't, somebody think, I want to go get like Marlene's job. Working for me is not easy. Because I'm going to give you a real reaction to things that an elder will too. Nobody told you to do that. Who told you to do that? Everything needs to be authorized properly. We've already had enough of that in the past when people did whatever they wanted. And so, but could you handle the correction? I mean, that's really part of the life, thing. Is the lesson is, if you're going to work, you're going to get corrected at some point. I don't care who you are. You could be my wife. You could be, that close. You're still going to make a choice. I'm going to be like, why'd you do that? That's not what I wanted, whatever. All right? Now, the other thing you guys all need to know about me, but this is where you all get messed up because you don't believe this because very few people can do this. I let it go as soon as it's over. All right? Since none of you do that, or the majority don't, you think, oh, now Rabbi's going to be mad at me and he's going to hold it against me forever. No, as soon as our conversation ended, I forgot it was over. She was still licking her wounds for a little while because she got a little offended. She had to take a minute. And then the next day came to me and said, okay, yeah. But the thing is, I don't. It's over. So many of you will come over to apologize, say, Rabbi, I need to apologize. I said, for what? Remember last week or 2 weeks ago when I did this? I said, no, I don't. I don't hold on to anything. Okay, some of you know that deal. You've come to apologize. And I'm like, Elder will tell you, I don't hold anything. All right? If I'm upset in that moment's gone. It's over. I'm done. I let it go. I'm as happy as can be. Our relationship's fine. Everything's good. So just let there be a lesson. Anybody's all worried about that. Well, now Rabbi's mad at me. Well, only in that moment. If I was even that. Sometimes you guys say I was mad at you when I wasn't. But yeah, okay. But even if I was, 1 minute, that's it. When it's all over, done. Okay? And we walk out of, elders see me walk out of a heated session with somebody and we walk out, everything's fine. I don't hold anything. All right? And you can ask Elder, he'll tell you, I don't. He watches me and goes, you're weird. You just don't, I don't hold anything. I'm too busy to be bothered with hanging on to negative emotions. All right?
And you let us have it in a moment, so it gets expended. You have your peace.
If I'm frustrated with you in that moment, you know. But I'm not going to be frustrated with you the next day and the next day and the next day. That moment's gone. And I only let you know because I want to make sure you receive the communication. Hey, this needs to not be done this way next time. Okay? Okay, just so we're clear. Because if there's no consequence, how do you know that I'm serious not to make sure or I'm serious to not have that happen again? All right? It's like when a parent punishes the child, they're hoping the child gets the message, hey, you don't want to do that next time. Okay? Now, children don't really get that message so easily, but adults should. But the problem is then adults have a little meltdown, have a little whatever because they were corrected. Look, everybody needs to be corrected. Okay, how else are you going to grow without getting any kind of correction, okay? All right, anything else?
Yeah, so then the last thing I was going to say is that I remember I was expecting JC to miraculously fix me since he did everything. Well, so we thought.
Right.
So we have to practice good behavior to get good at it, and we have to do the doing. And he did not do righteousness because we couldn't. He showed us what righteousness looked like so we can imitate him because he knows we can do it, which is what you've been telling us. It dawned on me, I think it was probably within the last year, that I always thought Yeshua was something like, I was told that his likeness was something we could never attain, even though we're told to transform into his likeness. But he's trumped up to make it so that it's something we could never attain. But the reason why it says all that it says about us transforming into him is because we can.
Exactly.
We can transform. And so I remember thinking, I can be like Yeshua. I can't believe it. Because, this whole God-man thing has made it so nobody can be like that, But people were like that all the time, which is why he would tell people when they came to him and said, what do I need to do to inherit eternal life? He would tell them something they could do, to earn it. Because we do need to earn it. So I just want to tell you, I appreciate you and thank you for being hard on us. And me personally, even though I don't like it at the time.
Well, that's scriptural, by the way. It says nobody likes it at the time. That's Deuteronomy 6. He says, nobody likes to be chastised at the time, but then the peaceable fruits come later if you can receive it. Okay?
And the psalm that you just read at the end during the prayer, was talking about what we are on the inside. And it reminded me of your mall map analogy that if we are not real, if we're not in reality, like you tell us all the time, we have to bring reality in. If we're not in reality, we don't know where we are, so that we can't get to anywhere because we don't have a starting point. We're like in this daze of who we even are. So we have to be real before we can transform because we're not we're pretending like we're something we're not. So I appreciate you coming in our face when we need to. I mean, just being unashamedly real, because we need Yahweh wants us to transform, and we can't transform if we're not real. So thank you for not giving us a hard time, because we need to be given a hard time sometimes.
That's all right. I'm in. Look, the mall map thing is kind of, I say that's the you are here thing in the mall. Okay, then if you know where you are, then you know where you want to find a certain store, you can figure out how to get there from where you are. You have to know where you are to start with. Look, you all already are, at times, in certain areas of your life, you are Yeshua-like. You have your moments, okay? What you want to do is be able to chart out in all the different aspects of life, which ones are you struggling to be Yeshua-like in? And that may be where some of the chastisement comes in those areas. And what I'm going to encourage people to do, and this is really hard, I'm not being sarcastic, it's really tough. When you're getting corrected, bite your tongue, because the first thing to do is you want to get defensive. No, bite your tongue and force yourself to consider, is it true? See, you get defensive not because you really think it's not true, it's because you can't allow me to think it's true, the person that's accusing you. So you got to defend because how dare you think I did this, that, or I'm wrong about this. So you get defensive, but you're defending your pride. You're not defending your action. So the first thing now of course, if you really calmly look it through and go, well, actually that's not true, then you may, in a more calm way, say, you know what, that's really not true. I think that, whatever. And then you can put forth a little bit of a defense because maybe the person who's making the accusation, whatever, was wrong. But first, before you get defensive, think about, is it true? Am I just emotionally responding because it hurts my pride? Okay? You can't talk to me like that type of stuff. So you're going to double down. That's what most people do. You double down and get defensive. All right? Now, we watch people in the public arena do this all the time. Okay? They get called out on something. This happens in politics all the time. Called out, and what do? Do they own it? No, they double down. In other words, they get defensive and they dig the hole deeper. Don't do that. It doesn't work. It doesn't make you look good. All it shows is that your pride's in the way. All right? Janet.
Sorry, I was trying to write what you were saying. That was great. Thank you, Rabbi.
Fortunately, by the way, just so you know, this is recorded.
I know, but I just wanted to still write it down because when I write and listen, I get it. It stays.
Okay.
So I appreciate, Rabbi, your teaching as always. Excellent teaching, Rabbi. So. A couple of things, but maybe I should start with the correction, what you were talking about with Marlene, and the big question is, can we handle correction? And I can say 100%, like when we got here, I was much weaker, I was like, oh my God, that hurts when you correct, but I have grown, so I'm becoming more of an adult. I don't think I'm quite there, but I don't think I would have grown if you wouldn't have corrected me the way you did. So,
wait, hold on. You just reminded me of something. I did talk about that some of you will double down and get defensive. There's another group of you that will say nothing, act like you're okay, then go implode when you get home and have a meltdown over, the rabbi talked to me this way, or he said that, whatever it is. When again, before you have that meltdown, think about, is it true? Is it what I needed to hear, not what I wanted to hear? And maybe not how I wanted to hear. But and again, the defense against an emotional. See, a pride reaction would be to throw out a defense. But there's a different implosion reaction where you have some sort of anger, shame, an embarrassment thing that goes inside. So you don't say anything in front of me, so I don't know there's a problem. And then I find out later as you're spewing it all over Facebook, there was a problem. But you get your feelings hurt. Always ask that question. All right, go ahead.
No, I do appreciate, Rabbi, the correction. And I think it's, Abba is using you to help us grow. And so I just wanted to say that. And I really tried to be you when I see my clients. Not the same version, obviously can't match you, but I really try to use your strength and your compassionate correction And whenever I do that, my clients receive it 100% all the time. And so there is this strength and power that I kind of like receive from you. That's why I keep writing your words, because I use them word by word.
And when you use this with your clients, don't forget that I get 10%.
Right. Yes, and offerings and whatever. I mean, I'm all for it. I'm so appreciative for what you do for me and for.
Okay, but listen, remember, some of you are like, well, I don't believe what Janet's saying about, this, but gotta understand, she's counseled with me a lot. And then she's also taken the same type of counsel and then reused it with some of her clients. And so a lot of you just don't believe this stuff because you've never come in, or you came in once and didn't like what happened, and you haven't given it a chance. In the years, and it's been years now that I know the Hoffmans, I mean, I've counseled all of the family members pretty much, okay? And, we've had a relationship where there's been a lot of encouragement, there's been a lot of help, there's also been a lot of correction. And so you're not gonna really get it from just one time and, all of that. I mean, unless it went really well, and at least you thought so, then you will come back for a second one. But just understand that. I appreciate that you're using whatever I gave you, and it helped.
Yes, and there's more, so I'm going to ask for an appointment at some point when you're available. But I wanted to clarify the idea of belief, okay? So, because I believe that this is like the core idea from this teaching, right? Belief of obedience. And so maybe I'm not thorough with this, but what I got from it, the belief is about believing who He is first, to see Him the right way, believe that we can get there, believe that He will bless us if we obey, and that, believe that we will receive what we need when we go to counsel with You, because we believe that you're His voice, you're His anointed, appointed, and have the proper fear. Did I get it? Is there more to the belief?
That's basically it. I mean, look, if I tell a child, if you do that, I'm going to take away your tablet, and they go and do it anyway, did they believe me? No, okay? So belief obedience is that I believe that the consequences will come. Take it on the positive side. Say to the child, if you do this, this, and this over the next couple of months, whatever it is, then I'm going to take you out to your favorite little restaurant or whatever it is. I'm going to do something that's a prize, a reward. And then they don't really do it. Did they really believe you? Okay? So it can go in both directions, because Abba, the Father, puts in there promises of negative and positive. Okay? He says, if you do this, you get the negative. If you do this, you get the positive. I mean, that's the whole blessings and cursings chapter, right? In Deuteronomy 28. So when you're looking at these things, the belief is, I believe He is who He is. Otherwise, nothing comes after that. All right? And basically, you believe what it says in the 10:12 of Deuteronomy, where Deuteronomy 10:12 gives you the process, fearing Him, which is having that awe and reverence for Him, okay? And then because you understand and believe who He is and you have that awe and reverence for Him, you're going to do the other steps, okay? You're going to walk in all His ways, et cetera, okay? So the belief obedience is because you believe the consequences are true, positive or negative. Like you believe the reward is true and the negative consequences are true, and you believe that He can do and fulfill everything He promised. You believe, in other words, that the good news is real, that everything He said as a forward-looking positive message is real. You also believe in the if. What a terrible two-letter word. If. And that's Deuteronomy 28, right? If you obey, all this great stuff. This is if you do not obey, all this terrible stuff. All right? That's what belief is all about. Okay, is believing in what something will accomplish or what the result will be of something, all right? I can just do because you're my boss and do what you tell me to do. So, we believe God's God, all right? The Elohim's Elohim, and He says, don't do this and do this, all right? So I can mechanically go and do that because I'm just afraid of Him. Or I can believe it will transform me. I can believe that it will be the best way to love my neighbor as well as loving Him, because the Torah instructions are about those two categories of things. We call them the two great category commands, right? So I have to believe all that. Not just mechanically just be doing it because I believe He is, because I can start with I believe He is, and so I'm afraid of Him, maybe on an actual fear level, not on reverence level. I'm just going to try and do what He said because I'm afraid. Well, He wants you to do it because you believe all of what He said, the consequences for not obeying and the reward and results of obeying. and that this is leading you to a good news end result of the kingdom. Because the good news of the kingdom, right? Okay, so hopefully does that give you more of a full answer?
Absolutely, yes. And the last thing, Rabbi, I wanted to just say about, you were going back to that verse many times, which was the world can actually discern, like we're naked and laid bare before his eyes, and that
right.
He can see through us, right? It's like cutting through even the,
right.
all what we try to hide, or sometimes we don't even notice that it's there. I just wanted to say that many times when I've come to you for counseling, you have shown me something that I wasn't 100% aware that it was there. When you ask why is like you dig deeper, and I don't think I'm able to see that clearly, but on my own. You know what I mean? Like a lot of times,
if people could do that, you and I wouldn't have counseling jobs. No, I'm not saying that as a joke. I mean, people need facilitators to facilitate them looking at themselves and digging through their stuff. So she's saying is that anytime I ask her what's going on, I'll say, well, why do you think that is? She gives me a reason. I said, no, that's not it. Go deeper. And I say, why, what's motivating that? And then we have to go down 3 or 4 levels before we get to the real problem, which is almost always a fear, okay? But when you look at the surface level, you're looking at a symptom. So a good facilitator will help you dig underneath to find out what's causing the symptom, okay? We're a good society about addressing symptoms, all right? Anybody ever take NyQuil, Dayquil, whatever? It claims it handles like 13, 15 symptoms. It does nothing for the problem. It is not curing your virus or flu or cold. It's just making your symptoms feel better, okay? But we take it thinking that it's going to make us more healthy. It's going to take away the problem. No, it's just going to mask the symptoms, okay? And so we're big on that as a society. Let's put Band-Aids on everything and not deal with the problem. It's kind of like in a car, we don't teach our children when the check oil light goes on to just put a paper over it and tape over it, so you ignore that, okay? The check engine light goes on, just cover it up. Unplug the light bulb so it doesn't go on. You got to figure out why it's on. What's it trying to tell you? So you're having issues in your life, it's trying to tell you something. Guess what? Go counsel with me, somebody like Janet, and we will help you figure out what it is. That's what we do, okay? All right, Ashley.
I've been wanting to ask this question for a while, and I keep forgetting it, and then you said it today, and I was able to remember it. Receiving. A few counseling sessions ago, I finally received something I've been wanting to receive for years with you, and it finally hit. I don't know if you remember that. Oh, go figure.
No.
It is what it is. But my question is, now that I'm understanding how to receive, how can we receive faster so it's not, I don't know, I'm impatient, I'm still working on that, but I just want to get to being better, quicker, and how do I receive faster with you?
All right, so I guess my best analogy will be a sort of a sports analogy. So when I was in college, one of the things they taught us was, I took a class in sports. I guess it was some sort of sports class. Like excuse me. Some of you don't realize all the things necessary, for example, to throw a ball, like a baseball. Because you just say to a kid may come up to you as an adult and say, show me how to throw a ball. He's like, well, you take it and you just throw it, whatever. No, but how do you hold it? Are you holding it in your whole hand, just with your fingertips? How are you positioning it? Where are you bringing it? And how are you moving your arm? There's lots of things to it, okay? Now, when you first go to throw a ball, when you first go to write with a pen, or when you first go to do a lot of things that you haven't done before, there's muscles that are triggering that don't need to trigger when doing that motion, which makes it awkward. You understand what I'm saying? But when you get very practiced at something, the muscles that don't need to trigger relax, and the ones that do fire, and you become much more effective and fluid at something, okay? Because every motion that you have has muscles to go in either of 2 directions. Okay, if I lift my arm up, my bicep is triggering, my tricep has to relax to bend the arm. To extend it, the bicep has to relax, and the tricep is using the muscle to extend the arm. until you get effective at that. So when you are trying to practice listening, or you want to get faster at it, the more you do, the more the things that are hampering your ability to receive quicker will start to go away. Because you're just going to be more efficient at it over time. Because over time, your system will realize, oh, this little thing that I keep doing as a defensive mechanism, that's not really effective. I don't need to do that anymore. Okay? So it's the same thing with developing a skill set where you learn to trigger the motions in a right way. Okay? And then you become very fluid at something that was very hard to do in the first place. Okay?
Okay, so is that why then a lot of things may seem like they're speeding up for me?
Could be.
Okay.
The more you do things, they should, if you're paying attention, you should be diminishing the things that are in the way or slowing you down or hampering your progress, and be enhancing the parts that are working well. And so you should get faster and more fluid at it.
Okay. Perfect. And with that, it seems like everything, like I was going slow, and I didn't feel, and I know you guys seen it, because you guys tell me you've seen it, but like I'm finally seeing it, and I'm not just seeing it, but I'm seeing a lot of things go faster, and I'm like, it's getting me more excited to be able to do more and better things for myself and everyone else.
Well, good.
So, but with that, I just want to say thank you. I know I told you last night, and I want everyone else to hear it. All those good things that are happening would not be because of you and Elder and Rabbi Tom and Rabbi Berkson. I really want to say thank you, because where we were to where we are now is incomprehensible. And just, I wish everyone would hear what you say and like just volunteer. It's just, I could just tell you stories of everything that's changed. And
all right, let me ask you a question.
Thank you.
Let me ask you a question. How many years you been here now?
It'll be 4, actually.
4.
April 5th.
When you first got here, did you not tell me that most congregations throw you out and they don't know how to handle your children or whatever it is? And
I only went to 2, but it was nasty when they did it.
right. And you didn't stay there very long. And so you were worried that we were not going to keep you. You've been here 4 years.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, is just for everybody out there. And listen, Ashley and her family, like a lot of families, they're challenging at times. And some of you had to deal with that when you first met them, and then you fell in love with them, and you realized you could deal with the challenging aspects of them. You know, you got one child that clearly has some handicap issues, and so you got some other children that have their own issues. So what? You know, and we told her, you're welcome here. And we'll accommodate and make adjustments as we need to for you and your children. And now your children think I'm their grandfather.
Adar doesn't know anything else.
Okay, because they don't have a relationship with any other grandparent, I think. But the thing is, for those of you out there, if you can remember back to the first feast when they showed up, and I think you got on the mic at that time and you had this concern about being welcomed, you know, but it's 4 years later and you guys are here, your family.
Thank you.
All right, and a lot of ministries would have issues with dealing with people that are challenging. All right?
Yeah.
Some of you have issues with leadership that's challenging. Well, get over it. We deal with you guys are challenging. So deal with us.
Well, it really, and this is the last thing I'll say because I know we got to wrap it up, but I really noticed it this last week, especially with Adar, because I had an issue this past Sukkot. I was PTSDing, don't need to go there, but you know what I'm talking about. I was talking to her on the couch a couple days ago, and I don't know what led into this, but she just turned to me and said, Mommy, thank you for meeting me with Rabbi, because you're a better mommy now.
Aww.
Thank you.
There we go.
So, thank you.
You're welcome. Hey, look, you know, we had struggles getting you there, but you did the work. You did the work. It was work. Oh, it was work. And we battled a little bit over some things, you know. But you always came ready to receive, even though you knew you would struggle with it. And sometimes you had to, smack around a little bit fighting it out until I said, would you just stop and just listen? And then you would, But the hardest thing for you, actually, which a lot of you may have the hard thing, is that I may ask you to do something that's completely foreign and unknown to you, and then you don't know. So her answer a lot of times was, I don't understand. How do I do that? How? Stop worrying about how. First commit to that you're going to do it. The how will come, okay? The how is the least important thing. First decide it's what you're going to do, okay? I mean, look, they didn't know how or what they were going to do getting into the land. He took them out of Egypt and started bringing them somewhere. How was not the problem. They had to believe in who was bringing them, okay? And the fact that he was saying, you can do this. And so me, speaking on behalf of him, telling you you could do something, you were too focused on the how. I said, stop worrying about the how. It'll play out. All right, but that's hard to do. That's hard to do. All right, Marlene's back.
Yeah, I just wanted to say something. Ashley reminded me of when she talked about her journey and stuff. And I remember, I don't know if it was the first feast, but my first feast was Passover 2021. I don't know, was that your first feast? Okay. So during that feast, I met Ashley in person. And I told her how much I appreciated her and her getting up and sharing, her life and whatever. And then during the feast, something happened. And I almost think she cursed you out. or
That's happened several times.
Yeah. And I was thinking, wow, she's not going to be here long, I was like, okay, well, I guess she's not as perfect as I thought she was. And wow, she's about to be out the door, And I just want to say that after everything got figured out, and how she's still here, I think it just goes to show how awesome the leadership is here, because you even though somebody's lashing out at you, it's them and their issue that's lashing out, and you're not taking it personally. Even though you say you can't be doing this, you need to respect leadership or whatever, she's free to be her.
Right.
And because she's free to be her, as ugly as all of us can be at times, you still love us anyway, and you're there, and you're still telling us the right thing, and you're not pulling any punches, because if she acted out, you could be like, you know what, she's acting out, let me not tell her the truth. But you're still telling us the truth.
Right.
Yeah, and you still love us even though we act ugly.
All right, well, and she just said, and I hugged her. So look, none of you should be afraid. If you can get in my face any way you want. You can curse me out, it doesn't matter. Elder will tell you, I don't care. I don't get upset. I don't take it personally. But I will de-escalate it and calm it down and fix the problem, which is what I did with Ashley, and ended up giving her a hug afterwards, okay? Because she just wasn't getting what she wanted at that moment. By the way, just so you know, officially, I don't remember any of it, okay? I do know that you've had moments where you've said some pretty foul things in my direction, but, okay? But I don't remember any of it, but I know that the only thing that gets you out of here is if you do something that, if I don't do something about it, the body will think that now it's licensed to do that kind of stuff, okay? So if somebody's committing adultery or somebody's doing some other thing that's, like maybe we've had some married people in here hitting on other people and stuff like that. It's stuff that just can't be allowed to behave in the body. I'm here to protect that, right? But anything you do directly to me generally doesn't get you thrown out of here, okay? I've only asked a few people to leave when it became very obvious that they weren't interested in listening to anything. And I said, well, then you're in the wrong place, you need to go. And I don't yell or anything about it. It's like, well, then you just need to go. We had that happen a week or two ago, right? That somebody just doesn't want to own their stuff and decided that, and you guys should all be happier that that's been fixed. But the thing is, attacking me directly is not going to get you thrown out. I don't be like, oh, how dare you talk to me that way? I didn't say that to her when she did it. I just looked at her like, okay, she's pissed. Fine, let me calm her down, okay? All right? But also you need to know, all of you language people, I'm very familiar and fluent in all of that, and so I can understand where that comes from. She's trying to express how much she's upset about something. So words don't offend me because I use them freely in my life, okay? So if he's like, oh, I have used them very freely in my life, okay? I wasn't always a rabbi. I use them freely now sometimes. Some of you are laughing because you've heard that too. Point is, I knew where that was coming from. Okay, so let that be an encouragement to you that I wouldn't throw someone out who cursed me out. Okay, and she did. But she was just mad at whatever it was. I don't remember what it was. It doesn't matter. She was frustrated, really. Okay? Wasn't so much mad at me. I just wasn't giving her the answer she needed. Because she just didn't know how to fix the problem, whatever it was. It's likely what it was. I can't remember.
You just reminded me of my own father.
Oh, that's why she really got upset, because I acted in a way that she remembered that her father had acted and I triggered something. But the thing is, that's not the point. Okay? The point is how I handled it afterwards. You need to know that. Okay? So throwing some expletives in my direction isn't going to get you tossed out of the building. Now, if we continue in that way and I can't calm you down and get you to clear that out, then I say, look, then you might need to be someplace else. And that's a calmly way that I would do that, okay? I'm not gonna go toe-to-toe with you, okay?
So the reason why I brought that up is I thought it might help somebody if they had a problem with something,
Yeah.
that they felt like you did, and they're afraid, which they won't say they're afraid. Like the people who are putting stuff on Facebook are afraid to have a confrontation with you,
Right.
to really say what they want to say, so they say it, on Facebook or whatever, because they don't want to, go toe to toe with you. But I encourage anyone who is doing this stuff, go toe to toe, because you need to see your ugly. You need to see the ugliness that you're blaming Rabbi, because Rabbi showed you a mirror, and you don't want to see it so bad that you want to put stuff on Facebook because you won't face the ugliness in you, but you're never going to transform until you face the ugly. Because we have to know our dirtiness before we can get clean. You cannot transform if you keep throwing shade. You can't transform. You got to look in the mirror and say, was it true what he said?
Yeah. Hey, look.
We get offended. We get defensive. It's not helping us.
No. But here's the thing that for you guys, what do you do when you see a post? Some of you give it hearts. Yep. There are some of you people that like people's posts. And some of you don't do enough to understand, like, there's a reason that post is there and it's actually an attack. And there's some of you in this room I should actually go up to and say, I really might want to be more circumspect before you just like people's posts, okay? But also, because they may say something that you would agree with, but they don't understand who they're attacking. Because that people try to be slick in their posts. So you just don't know. All right, the other thing is, do you think that people walked away from Yeshua when they thought he was teaching cannibalism? And do you think they told other people, that guy's crazy, he's teaching cannibalism? When he said, you have to eat of my body and drink of my blood? So what would have happened if somebody listened to those people and didn't go figure out for themselves what Yeshua was all about? Because you're going to read somebody's nasty post, and it will be saying stuff you've never experienced, and you're going to start listening to them, buying into that. Or I did something that stepped on your toe, and you're like, oh, see? I got somebody to go have a pity party with. All right? And then you're going to join in the party. Look, these people put that stuff out there. That's a test for you. Okay? I'm not telling you what to do with it or not. Okay? I'm not telling you what to do with it or not. That's up to you. But I'm just understand. I'm not, people like say, is Rabbi aware of it? What difference does it make if I'm aware of it or not? I'm not doing anything about it. There's nothing I'm going to do about it. Well, will you reach out? I'm not going to reach out to the person. The person clearly doesn't want to talk to me if they're outing me on Facebook. Okay? So why should I, what do you want me to do? Well, you just need to be aware. Why? I'm being attacked all the time. I need to be aware. Well, it's so-and-so. Well, I'm aware that so-and-so doesn't like me at the moment. All right, so I don't mind that you let us know so we're aware of things, but just don't let it disturb you so much. All right? All right, just don't let it doesn't disturb me. It saddens me. And I mean, I'm really saddened because there's a lot of the people actually that have left I really liked, okay? And I wish they had made different decisions. Which is why a couple weeks back, I offered anybody who left to come sit down. I'll be happy to talk to anybody calmly and hear whatever you have to say, all right? Because I really did like, and still like, a lot of people, no matter how nasty they're being, okay? They're speaking out of their disappointment and pain and frustration that their life is not what they want, and that I wouldn't fix it for them. It's not my job to fix it for you. All right.
The last thing I was going to say was just that that I appreciate when people don't take the negative, the slander, take that to heart and start believing something, without knowing the whole story, And so I just want to encourage anybody else that heard something. So then now you got this thought in your head about, oh, well, Rabbi's like this. Go talk to Rabbi. Go talk to Rabbi and bring it to him and say, is this true? Like you said, some people before the whole half the congregation left because of the Manny thing or whatever, You know, there's some people that came to you and said, hey, I don't understand why you made this decision. Can you help me understand?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
or even if they say, I heard that you did this, or I heard whatever, you know, just come, because it helps us. We have to confront that thing in ourselves. We have to be
Yeah.
honest with ourselves. And I think that instead of running away because we heard something, we should hear it from the horse's mouth, so to speak. And it may not even be true. And then we
Right.
can get better, even though we're afraid or we want to run or whatever, it's better to confront that thing in ourselves than to run. So thank you.
All right, so real quickly, there are those that will think, well, why would I go to rabbi? Of course he's going to deny it or this or spin it or gaslight us or do some other thing. Fine, go talk to elder. There's almost nobody that's left over whatever issue that he doesn't know about. And he was in the counseling rooms and all the counselings happened, that whatever they had a meltdown over. Ask elder. But here's the thing. Some of you don't know how to respond to when somebody makes a post, your first thought should be, I feel bad, this person's in some pain and they're not handling it the right way. Instead, some of you are going to be like, bing, bing, bing. Oh, tell me all the stuff. What happened? Why would you do that? What good's going to come out of that? You already know the person's just going to be besmirching me as best they can, all right? But some of you are going to do that. Actually, some of the people that are out there because they were talking to other people that are out there. And I know this like literally, okay? Like people that are attacking me right now are being encouraged by people that have left earlier than them. So if you want to be one of those people out there throwing stuff and whatever, go ahead, make the phone call, talk to them all you want, and get whatever their spin on everything is, and then you can leave too. Not because I'll throw you out, you'll just decide to leave because you're going to believe whatever they say, and that's fine. All right? Did you get the message in the teaching that ultimately, as we progress through, it's a small group that's willing to own their stuff, an adult, that's willing to have thick enough skin to be corrected, to do things the right way? Okay? Not everybody's cut out to do that. They're too emotionally weak. And I'm not saying that they're going to be all mad that I called them weak. Well, you're already mad at me anyway, so what do you care what I call you now? You're already throwing out there when you throw a second nastier Facebook post out there. All right? But it's sad that you're allowing your weakness in your emotions to do this. You could come and get the help you need. Some of you were actually already getting that help, and then for whatever reason you fell off the wagon and just went crazy. And I mean that like you just lost it. You just went off in a direction. All right? And that's sad. And that's really sad. Okay, so your first thought should be to pray for these people and realize that they're in some sort of emotional turmoil that needs help. But some of you are the Gnostics of the world, and you have to know everything. So you're going to run and call them and try to find out and know what's happening. Unless you've had an experience. See, that's what happens though. Some of them have a nasty experience, and they have to go find out if other people left also had the same nasty experience. Okay, fine, then go do that. But if everything seems great here, why would you contact them just to have that get spoiled by somebody spinning some nonsense at you? In my life, many times in my life, I've started being friends with somebody, and other people came up to me saying, oh no, that person, this, and this. I said, that's not been my experience, so I'm going to go based on my experience. If you have your experience, that's fine. I never let other people influence me about people. That's just me, just giving you an example from my life, okay? Because somebody may have an issue with that person. I don't. I got my own relationship with that person. I'm sorry you don't like them, but I do. Oh, but you can't trust them, you can't do blah, blah, whatever, because you're spinning it to whatever bad experience you had. I've never seen that. And when I do, fine. Maybe I have a little tiny caution button in case, but I haven't seen it. I'm going to treat them based on what I experience. All right? Because I know most of you that counsel with me on any kind of regular basis, none of this affects you because you know what we have. And you know what you get. You know? All right. Live stream, we're late again, so maybe one.
Let me ask this one from Shakara. In Hebrews 4:7, if we need an anointed appointed to truly understand the word, how would we know if the voice we're hearing is not his? Doesn't that leave room for us to be confused about whose voice we're really hearing? Hope you understand what I'm trying to ask.
I do. Okay, here's the problem, all right? I personally have said and believe that this book was never intended for you to fully understand without help, okay? I mean, you can understand a lot of it without help. But I'm saying a lot of the stuff is meant to be guided. Okay, that's number one. Number two, I can't give you a definitive way of identifying who's anointed and appointed and who's actually using his voice. I can't. That's something you have to prayerfully consider when you're standing in front of somebody or when you're sitting and listening. I wish I could give you a very black and white, type of thing. I could stand in front of an altar and have fire come down and burn everything like Elijah did, okay? And that didn't really impress enough people anyway, right? So I understand that when it says, well, doesn't this leave room for us to be confused as to whose voice? Yes, it does. But you know what? If you've tasted and you've seen and the results are there, you start to believe and trust that that's his voice. Especially as Elder has said and Rabbi Tom has said, when the answers to questions you've always had are finally being answered and stuff is making more sense than it ever did, that might be a good strong hint that you might be dealing with anointeds. The whole point is that Paul says you need them and they're there and you have to find them. He doesn't give us a very clear description so we know who's who. All right? Elder gets up here and makes his case that he believes that's what I am. He did that a couple weeks ago, said it during the Afterburn, okay? But of course you don't believe him because you think he's just totally kissing up to me for whatever you think. Elder's his own man. He's not gonna say anything he doesn't truly believe, all right? He's in the Hebrew, in the Yiddish you call him a mensch, okay? Okay, he's a mensch. And I don't think he's going to say anything up here that he doesn't feel. He's not going to blow smoke up your skirt, so to speak, or whatever. He's going to tell you, if he feels he needs to come up here and say something, he's going to come up and say it because he thinks you need to hear it from him. But that doesn't matter either. It's still you, the Ruach, the Father, and the Son. Figure that out and prayerfully consider, am I hearing him through a person? Because that's what he said he's doing. It's what he's always done. I can't give you any kind of it's me, you gotta listen to me. What I would say is, why don't you try listening to me and see what happens? How about that? If you just try, you might see something that happens. Especially when it's something that's upsetting you and you don't like it and then see maybe some really amazing things come out of it.